All right. Thank you all. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here. And thank you for joining us for the Mission Critical by Design, Building the Backbone of Aviation. My name is Joel Armstrong. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Coltala Aerospace. I'll be hosting the webinar today. Before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping notes. Today's session will run roughly 35 minutes, followed by a Q&A session to follow. So please submit any questions you may have in the chat box, and we will address those kind of as we get to them. But now on to the reason why we're here. Our focus today is truly building a mission critical by design focus and how we can all kind of help support building up that backbone of aviation. I'm really thrilled to introduce a few of the key players that we've got in the Coltala Aerospace family. First off today will be Rick Armstrong, CEO, co-founder, and board member of Coltala Aerospace. He's got roughly 40 years of experience in the aerospace industry, founded Aero Parts Group in 2021, and then joined with Edward Crawford and Ralph Manning to form Coltala Aerospace. Today, he'll really be focused on company culture and how we implement that here within Coltala Aerospace, and how I can give you a few nuggets of advice to kind of help you adapt to that and absorb that into your company to help build a better culture for tomorrow. After that, we'll have Mike Campbell, the president of ACD Consulting. He runs the Coltala Consulting and Engineering Division. While Mike
I'll have a reasonable facsimile of Mike.
And while Mike couldn't be here live, he'll provide some valuable insight to today's supply chain disruptions and how ACD is really trying to address those, really focused on data-driven engineering, kitting support, and supply chain alternatives. And then following that, we'll have Nick McDonald, the Vice President and General Manager of Evans Composites. Nick runs the Coltala Aerospace Repair Division of the company, and he'll walk us through how he's developing and implementing continual improvement programs and kind of highlight how ECI has leveraged Kaizen events to improve the flow and reduce turnaround times within our own facilities. So without further ado, we'll get to Rick Armstrong. Rick has been instrumental in shaping a resilient and mission-focused culture. Rick, can you share with us how culture impacts teams in high-stake environments?
Yeah, I think culture is probably the number one thing that is the necessary, I call it the secret sauce of making a company successful when you get into high pressure, tight deadline type companies. It really puts a stress on the entire organization and makes them realize how well do we like each other. And that goes a long ways when aviation, I left the restaurant business going to aviation thinking I'd work less hours. Boy, was that dumb. Anyway, so you end up working a lot of time together with the people that you're with in whatever cell group you're working in. So culture plays a key role in making sure that when those times get tight, when the mistakes happen. I don't know about the rest of everybody else that's watching, but I know that on occasion we have had a mistake or two happen. And so therefore we really depend on culture to make sure that we spend a lot of time in the culture side, enjoy the time that we're together, and build that camaraderie in the shop so that that stress is not that tough.
Yeah, that's great. How do you maintain? Evans and Coltala in general has had just fantastic growth over the last few years. How do we really focus on maintaining that culture through movement and changes and everything within this aviation fast-paced environment?
I will tell you, the bigger you get, the harder it is. When we started out, we really looked at what it was easy. Just put it that way. It was easy to take everybody to lunch. It was easy to have a hamburger cookout. It was easy to celebrate the small victories. It was easy to celebrate the large victories. As we've grown and gotten larger, it has to become a purpose. It has to be driven. It has to be something that we really focus on and take the next step to make sure that it continues to grow. We do that here through just dumb things. Like at Halloween, we have a chili cook-off and costume contest. I think last year we dressed Nick up as a king and I came as the court jester. The year before we were Fred and Barney. So when the guys out on the shop floor see that management cares about them and participates in what they're doing, um, it allows culture to kind of grow organically throughout the shop.
That's great. That's great. What kind of advice would you give to maybe a company that maybe struggling with culture? They're trying to transform their current space, trying to make a better work environment for their teams, or maybe they're going through similar things like we have been, right? Extreme growth, don't know how to adapt to it. How do they drive their leaders to get involved? Kind of all of the above. Can you kind of put a bow on that for us?
Sure. I think it all has to start at the leadership level. If the leaders do not see the need for it or do not, it's not top of mind a lot of times. You get the bank pressing for you on numbers, you get, employees complaining about this, that, and the other. Um, Kind of culture becomes something that is not top of mind, but I think it starts at the top. I think you have to make sure that the people that are involved in shaping the culture believe in it, that they know that it is a critical component of the success of the business. If the management level folks, and I will take that all the way up to the guys that own the company. And if you're in a publicly traded company, the CEO of the company, if he doesn't value culture in a company, it's going to be next to impossible to build. I will tell you, my experience has been in the past, even though I've worked at companies that where that wasn't the case, where upper management really didn't give a dang about culture. Um, I built it within my units. If I was the lead over an area, I would take the extra steps to I don't know if this is politically correct, but go to happy hours. We used to take off on Thursdays to go up the bowling alley and buy a couple of beers, and um, that was when Golden Tee golf first really came out, and we would
Oh yeah.
play Golden Tee. My wife didn't care much for it because I'd come home about 2 hours late from coming home from work, but it built a kinship, a loyalty, if you will. Wasn't intentional, but it did. And I will tell you from those experiences back in the 80s where we did that, um, I still have the children of some of those guys that work for us today. So something's good about that.
That's excellent. And, just one more thing. We talk about the top down kind of philosophy of guiding that, but how do you make sure that when you onboard somebody new, you instill our pre-existing culture and try to make sure that that kind of employee can get on board or buy into the culture that you've created or that we've created?
I don't think you can. I
Yeah.
don't really think you can. You can speak until you're blue in the face about culture, but until they get here, I mean, of course, we talk about it in indoctrination or in onboarding. Boy, I struggled over indoctrination, didn't I? The just washed my mouth, can't do a thing with it. But you can talk about it all you want to. It is the proof is in the pudding. I mean, when those guys and girls get out on the floor and they see that, yeah, it's a job, but people truly do enjoy coming to work here and don't mind helping each other out. They see pretty quick that it's a different style than most companies.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thank you for sharing on the culture. I think it truly drives business. It truly keeps people employed and happy to be employed. And that's what's going to continue to push your business along. So I really appreciate your insight on company culture and kind of how we're driving that home within the Coltala Aerospace family.
Yeah.
Uh,
Cool.
Next, we'll hear from Mike Campbell. Of course, like we said, he's not able to join us today, but Mike and the ACD team are experts in fabricating, kitting, and finding alternative solutions to really a struggling market, and then how they tackle those challenges related to the OEM, right? Trying to find those items that have the long lead times. Maybe they're hard to source components. And Mike brings just an unbelievable amount of insight into this world and works with customers to tackle those complex challenges. If we can go ahead and play the video, Mike.
Live today. I want to tell you a little bit about ACD and why we are here to present the solutions that we are doing. ACD Consulting started 2.5 years ago with the purpose of providing solutions to the toughest challenges in the maintenance, repair, and overhaul sector. We want to provide these solutions because these providers are being challenged with cost reduction, time constraints, and the lack of support through people that has become most common to the industry. So as we look at these things, one of the challenges that we find the most is in the supply chain side. How many times have we run into the question of long lead times and that becoming a driver versus cost? These long lead times can be challenged. We can look at alternative solutions, which we're forced to do often and daily in our businesses. As we look at those challenges, we look at make versus buy, repair versus buy, and then we look at commercially available product, and we look at the PMA industry in general. Often these are things that we use as answers to these problems, and as we look at those things, there's really no right answer. Every situation is unique. So how do we challenge those situations? Well, we look at the market we have created and we say the best way to challenge this is through one of these alternative solutions. We create logic and we work with our clients at ACD to find the best fit solution for each problem individually. This is a rapidly growing industry, seeing growth rate projected at double digit over the next 10 years and becoming a $100 billion segment in our industry. So as we look at that, the OEMs are challenged with quality system, inventory supply chain challenges, and having the right suppliers to deliver the inventory in time. And unfortunately, the challenge for them is the MRO becomes a less priority to them than the operators of the aircraft. So naturally, the MRO is going to require the support for how to tackle their biggest challenge, and that's to keep airplanes in the air and sustainability through parts going back, whether that's a surplus part or it's a part to meet an aircraft on ground. Our clients have come to us with the challenge of providing these parts, whether it be kitting, fabricated parts, or repair solutions that address the issue at hand. We focus on good, strong engineering methods, techniques, and practices to provide these solutions. What we would like to do is continue to do so to meet the market trend. We see the PMA market growing 5 to 7% per year, but we also see the maintenance, repair, and overhaul industry growing at a faster rate into the double digits, as noted earlier. So the gap there is going to be in the supply chain and through these solutions. We look at this as an opportunity to be better, more nimble, and to have better cost-effective solutions for the industry. Our strategic recommendations include starting with an advocacy program to help teach your employees internally how to remain compliant, to help you all with developing alternative solutions programs internally which meet your company's needs and fit best towards you satisfying your customers with on-time delivery at fair prices. We're aviation people first, and our passion is in the safe operation of aircraft. We want to give solutions that are best fit to that. And we hope that you'll start by challenging yourselves internally to how you can work with those alternative solutions. Status quo is to accept when an OEM can't provide a material, can't provide technical data, and can't provide solutions. And that's where we want to step in. We want to build our industry through our network. We want to have our clients and customers working together to a common goal of putting airplane in the air.
I truly love Mike's dedication and the ACD consulting team's dedication to driving and truly advancing this industry.
Dude, he
He's
lives it. He
he
lives it.
does.
I
Eats, sleeps,
mean,
and breathes
lives.
it.
I mean, he loves the opportunity for a customer to call and say, I got a 180-day lead time on this part. What can we do to work around it? Or I've got this that needs to be fixed, but there are no instructions on how to do that. How
Yeah.
can we fix this? I mean, he loves every minute of it.
One thing I picked up from Mike is he asks every customer every time he goes in, and he trains his staff to do the same. What keeps you up at night?
Hmm.
What is that piece of the puzzle that keeps you from getting sleep at night? Give it to me. Let me find a solution, and I'll get it back to you. I think
Yeah.
that's valuable for any company that's trying to just compete or be a better partner in the field. Is let me be that solutions provider to you.
Well, it was like you started with. I've been in this business 40 years now. The number one thing that always has been a stop point, a hard stop is what we call them in our business, has been the piece parts required. A 30-cent O-ring that you would, well, we're talking aviation, a $300 a $300 O-ring that keeps an aircraft from getting off the ground. And Mike's team has the ability to actually take that part, look at it, determine what it's made out of, and give you something that you can return your part to service with.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. Uh, Next, we'll move on to Nicholas McDonald, or as we call him here, Nick McDonald.
Nick, Nick.
Like I said earlier, he is the VP and General Manager of Evans Composites, truly running our Coltala Aerospace repairs division here in Mansfield, Texas. He's led several teams through transformations, uh, driving different initiatives. Sorry, I couldn't get that word out either. That are truly moving the needle for us here, with the focus on improving our turnaround time and our efficiency in the shop. But Nick, can you take a moment to kind of walk us through what a successful continual improvement plan would look like when you're putting it into practice?
I will do my best, Joel. Yeah, I was gonna say, Rick, man, 30 cent O-ring. You need to let me know where to go get that when you're holding out. They're a lot more than that. Continuous improvement, guys. We can dig in deep and get into weeds when we're talking about it. You guys all know process improvement, sustainable improvement, ongoing changes. We've all heard it. We've all worked on it. But I think it's important that I give a little history of Evans and where we came from to kind of understand where we're at right now. And I got a gnat in here. We've had some continuous growth over the last few years. I'd say in 2020, Rick can remember we probably had around 12 employees, and it was the year of COVID. And we're very fortunate. We're busy. We had an uptick in business, so we had some positive growth, and we ended up onboarding about 8 employees in 2020. 2021, it kind of stabilized a little bit. Then 2022, we had another growth. Another good program came through our facility. We added some more employees, so on, so forth. And we always knew that we were going to have to change, right? We could not run a business today as we did 3 months ago. We're growing pretty rapidly. So never did we say, hey, this is the last organizational chart adjustment. This is the last change we're going to move. This is the last process. We understood it's continuous change. Well, we got to 2023 stabilize, and then 2024 hit, and we were busy, and it was unexplainable growth. I mean, we knew where it was coming from. We were very fortunate, but we were chasing our tails. Rick and I would talk about it, and we continued to work the organizational chart. We continued to look at the processes. Rick would say, Nick, you gotta revisit the life of a part of Evans, Well, look at all phases of the business. But so I'd show him a chart and I'm like, this is it. And he's like, no, you just sat at your desk and wrote that. You need to stand out there and look at every phase of the business from receiving to shipping. And boy, we were chasing our tails, and it was so busy that it was very hard to do.
Well, we moved from busy to chaotic.
Yeah, and we were doing just about everything we could to keep up with our customers' needs. And we understood, but we didn't really fully understand the tool, right? Continuous improvement. How do you really execute? Well, Coltala comes on board, and I'm telling you, they come on board, and I think Ricky said, hey, we're going to do a Kaizen event in 2 days. Let's say January 17th, they're on board, and January 22nd was our event. So you know me, I'm Googling. I'm like,
What's a
Kaizen
Kaizen?
event? What's a Kaizen event? You know what I'm saying? What's going on? But Katala understood where we were at. They had obviously been looking at our business for a while, and they knew the need. And the very first thing they did, now that I go back and I visit, is we had such rapid growth, and we were at such a trajectory that we could justify hiring a process engineer or WARDA. So before they even came on board, we had already hired a process engineer. He actually started January 6th. And he was going to be kind of my help, as we move the needle forward. Like I said, right out the gate, we had our first Kaizen event. Kaizen is Japanese. It's a philosophy of small changes for sustainable improvement, and it means change for the better. So we had our first event, and it was all about the value stream map, right? What is our current state, and how are we going to find our current state at Evans Composites? And we're going to utilize the value stream mapping process to see our entire business. Now, in order to do that, this was another thing that got me right out the gate was, Nick, we need around 25 employees to participate in this event for 3 days, so that we can truly understand what's going on in the business and in the facility. And that's that's key, guys. You have to have your employees involved. They're the ones that know what's going on. They're the ones that see the obstacles and the challenges they're facing every day. But also on top of that, they're the ones that need to be bought into the process, into the event. So that when you do make decisions and decide what you're going to change or what you're going to improve, it's their idea, it's their buy-in, and you'll have a greater success of execution. So we had our event, we identified some opportunities. We had some great people, and I'm telling you, my team is so loyal. They had been working so hard in 2024. They were ready. They were ready for the help. They were ready for the tools, and they were ready to accept, the changes. And that's not always the case. I've heard that some people are reluctant to change, and oh, that's not going to work here, or oh, we're not big enough for something like this, so on and so forth. Guys, they're minor changes. And like Rick was talking about, you have to lead by example, and the leader sets the tone as far as culture. Well, the same thing. The leader in the building sets the tone as to, are we going to be open to these improvements, or are we not? Are we going to embrace these events, or are we not? So you have to lead by example. I had told Rick at the end of 24, I was like, Rick, I'm pretty resilient, but you've broke me. I'm tired. It was rough. So I was ready for it as well. And
Could have thrown him a flaming torch with the
it was
help
crazy.
flag on it, and he'd have caught it.
It was crazy. But yeah, so we used the Kaizen event to identify some opportunities. And you just go through a process of elimination. You have to identify what's important, what can we execute. We like utilizing, it's called the impact and effort matrix, right? So you get your four quadrant, what's going to create high impact and low effort, and you have to prioritize, right? Something as simple as getting a supervisor a laptop so he can be on the shop floor versus having to go back to his workstation to answer questions. Getting evaluations, some carts to have their tools handy next to the part they're cleaning and tearing down. So there's little things, and those are high impact, low effort, low cost. You can execute them fairly quickly. You get the teams buy-in because they're quick wins, and you start creating a return on that investment and efficiencies, right? So there's little things you can do, how you address it, how you execute. The other thing is, how do you measure? How do you measure, these improvements? It's all about improvements, whether it's cost improvement, whether it's turn time, whether it's cost to the customer. Um, we utilize we call them gimbal boards. We started off in the shop. My gimbal board was the first one to go up after the first initial event. And we track our all phases of the business. How many parts are we moving daily through the shop? Every leader of each department or each phase is responsible. We meet for 15 minutes. To be honest, it's like a 7-minute meeting. We allocate 15 minutes, 9 o'clock, 7-minute meeting. All the leaders get an opportunity to talk about their department, what they moved, what obstacles they have, what we call them hard stops they have. We solicit support from other departments, and we move on down the road. And it's about quick solutions, quick answers, quick changes. You don't have to be this powerhouse MRO. Um, you just have to be committed to making these minor tweaks and adjustments as you go along the way. And it's made a world of a difference for us. Another big key is visual management, right? Some of the things we identified out of the first event was, okay, we're going to have to do several events in several departments. Now, another thing that Coltala said was, you know, we're always thinking evaluation. Well, that's where the parts come in. That's most important, and we gotta have to do it. We're all excited. We want to do an event in evaluation to improve turn time in the evaluation, right? Eval's taking too long. Well, I forget which Jordan or Edward, one of the Coltala individuals said, well, the first event after the value stream map is going to be in final, because final also had some opportunities. And we're like, final? Like, that's the end of the process, right? All you have is shipping after that. And they're like, yeah, we're going to back into this thing. We're going to make sure that all the departments are running smoothly, starting at the end to the beginning. And the reason is, if we increase our output in evaluation, but we don't in bond, we don't in structures, we don't in paint, we don't in final, well, all we're going to do is create more bottlenecks. So there's a strategy to it, right? Let's clear the pipe out first before we start jamming more work into it. It's been very successful. Our team embraces it now. It's a mindset. It's a culture change. It's something you just have to live out daily. Once you get it, once they get it, it's amazing. And then you just start evolving from there, right? We're nowhere experts, right? We still have so much to learn. But the fact that we're evolving is critical. It's crucial. One big thing that we've added to this process, we have what we call Whistle app. It's an app on all the computers for people to just share anything, see something, say something type of situation. Well, we're evolving this app. We're updating the app to solicit ideas from the team. So now the app's going to have several avenues you can go down, and you can solicit an idea. We'll review the ideas. We'll decide whether the idea is a project or an event. Very different. A project is something that leadership can come to me and say, hey, we want to do this. Okay, I approve it. Let's execute. We don't have to have a 3-day event. We don't have to do all that. We know what the outcome's going to be. We know what the return is going to be. Execute. Or we decide it's an event. We have to gather individuals from across the company, bring them, sit them down. They evaluate the current state, and then they talk about how can we improve the current state. So it's very important, but you'll evolve gradually and add more phases or layers to it. I think this app to engage all the employees is going to be huge. Obviously, we'll celebrate and recognize all these ideas. As we execute, there'll be some type of reward for them. But it's a mindset. It's part of our culture now. We still have a long ways to go. But It's been great. I'm telling you, we've had some record months after the past few months, and they it felt like we accomplished them a lot easier than we did last year, you know. So that's what I got, Joel.
So
No,
Nick,
I love it.
I got a question. I don't see any Q&As coming through, so I'm just going to throw a couple of questions out here. Nick, would you say visibility was probably the number one thing that allows you to determine your continuous improvement programs?
Yeah, visuals a big part of it. You know, it's also what you can't see though, Rick. I mean, it's also what the employees see. You can't just go off of one person. But you definitely see results utilizing the visual management tool. I'll give you an example. Final inspection. We had a situation where, oh, something gets rejected in final and it's sitting there for 2 days and nobody knows, right? No one's communicating. An email may be sent. Everyone's busy though. By the time they get to their emails. So one of the things that came out of the final event was visual management. We have a special table. It's red. It's for any rejections. We put a cone on top of the part. The cone identifies where's it going back to. Is it going back to paint? Is it going back to bond? Is it going back to structures? So I can walk by. I see a part with a cone on it on that red table. I know we have something held up and it can't go out the door to the customer, right? It's huge. It's all about servicing the customer in that turn time. So I can make a quick call and say, hey, buddy, you got a part over here. I just walked by the table. Let's get this taken care of, fix it. And a lot of times it's, oh, the serial number's not on it or something, right? It may be a data tag, whatever. But visual is key, right? Visual management is very important. I'm not
So the
sure if I
last
answered your question, but yeah.
No, definitely. So the last question I would say is, to me, I think culture folds hand in hand into your continuous improvement.
Definitely
Uh,
does.
with the good culture that we've been able to establish within the companies, the just like the red table you're talking about, everyone is comfortable saying that red table with a part on it and saying, "Hey, what is going on there?" No one, we have some, not all companies are perfect, but we do. Most everyone will look at that and go, "Hey, is that my problem?" And we'll work together with the team in resolving that problem. I think it's been a key component. We deal in customer service. We are a service company. People that are in this business understand that. You're only good as your last part. You're only as fast as the last time you did this part. So the continuous improvements, the overall exposure allowed you to implement those continuous improvement programs and add visibility to the entire team, then empowering that team to make a difference, I believe is what we've done and what has made the biggest change here.
Yeah, and I agree.
Definitely. Yeah,
Oh,
Joel.
sorry, go ahead. No, I was gonna say
Yeah,
I agree with what you're both saying about culture and the continuous improvement events. It was fantastic for me to see that we're in final and we've got somebody from paint, we've got somebody from bond, we've got somebody from structures, we've got somebody from evaluation, we've got a customer service teammate in there, right? All helping to identify new opportunities to improve an area that they don't see every day. But at the end of the day, they end up learning so much about that area because they don't see it every day. They don't know what their day to day looks like. They don't know what struggles they're facing. So I think when you tie this back into a general world and not just inside of ECI, I think it's extremely important that when these events come about, you're including all different
Everybody.
levels. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're everybody really to have a say in what they think is the most effective and efficient way to do it. And you throw it all to the wall like a brainstorming session. You've got somebody that's really driving the chariot forward, and you put it on that board. What can we do right now that's going to cost us the least amount of money to implement that within our organization? And then let's build a chart or build a newspaper, right, on what is the most important things, starting from easiest to most complex or easiest to most expensive, and truly value map your way to what perfect looks like.
And
yeah,
this
and
isn't breaking news, okay?
no,
This
it's
isn't
not.
like it's our idea, okay?
No.
I say plagiarism is the highest form of flattery, okay? Nick and I had talked about what we're doing now for years. We
Yeah.
didn't use the terms, but
Yeah.
when we joined forces with Coltala to create Coltala Aerospace, they had a tool in their toolbox.
Yeah.
And they came in and said, "Hey, look, we've already mapped this out, and this is the process." Oh, it was like a cheat code. I mean, it was like we stepped to the front of the line at Disney World.
And it was, and I think we got caught in the grind of the growth,
Yeah,
and we felt like, oh, we're not going to be able to service our customers if we take 2 days off. I'll tell you,
yeah,
initially that was my first thought. Now I'm like, okay, when's the next event, right? Now, guys, we stagger them, we spread them out. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't do an event every 2 weeks. You have to spread it out so that you give yourself time to execute. You give because that's rewarding. If an employee has an idea and you execute, they celebrate that. Everybody knows whose idea it was, and those are quick wins that keep them motivated. But like I was saying, it's not going to happen overnight. We're still updating our boards. The first gimbal board we threw up was my board to look at the entire business. But we now have them going up in every department. We actually had one department left, and I saw the managers and the leaders of that department working on that board yesterday. Now, I didn't tell them, hey, you need to
right.
have it up. It's just I walked by and it's like, hey, they're working on their board. And I'll be honest, I shared in my meeting this morning. I think they were waiting to kind of look at everyone's board because it's going to be pretty sweet. I mean, it's going to have some KPI trackers, some performance trackers on there, some
Yeah.
some spreadsheets, and it's actually probably going to end up being the best board. But that was probably by intent. If I know
You
Matt
thought they were
Chile,
dragging their feet and all
no,
they were doing was
I
waiting
think
to see what the
I think
competition was.
I think they're grabbing a little bit from everybody. And guys, those boards in the departments, they're tailored to that department. You have to visit and go to their meetings to see what they're talking about. And they evolve. I mean, I'm updating my board, with some new KPIs and information I want to track. It has to continue to evolve. If you're not changing it 3 6 months, you may be stagnant. You gotta revisit what you're doing.
It's not
Um,
continuous improvement if you never change it, brother.
Tops. Yeah.
correct, correct.
That's
So
exactly right.
Edward joined us. Joel, why don't you introduce Edward?
Hey, Edward, we got Edward Crawford here, founder or co-founder of Coltala and also now Coltala Aerospace. So, Edward, if you want to do a kind of a brief introduction on yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
For sure, for sure. First of all, I truly believe in the mission margin approach here and the purpose-driven model that Ricky, Nick, Joel, and Kyle and team have at the aerospace business. They truly have a great culture, and we have a thing we call people, plan, process, performance. Starts with the people, and they got the people right. And as Nick described earlier, that's where the systems can really work when you have the buy-in. So, by way of background, I was a Peace Corps volunteer starting out from Louisiana. Built a coffee farm business into about 400 farmers at 23 with a machete in one hand and speaking Spanish under a mango tree. And eventually did some things. I worked at Goldman Sachs for a while, covering Latin America. And then also worked with Navy intelligence, did some Afghanistan, Latin America, stuff like that. Um, and then partnered up with Ralph years ago and built Katala. And we had been looking for 6 years to find the perfect aerospace platform in Part 145 MRO to build a really amazing business. And we think we can take this, that the sky's the limit. We found the right partner in Ricky Armstrong that had an incredible business, incredible culture, but needed some help and had asked us to help on the ops side. To Nick's point earlier as well, they were doing a lot of this culturally but didn't have some of just the plays and the tools that they needed to implement. So we really just brought the tools. We see ourselves not as the hero of the story in Katala, but really as the support staff to the real heroes, which are Rick, Nick, Mike, Joel, Kyle, and the guys running the business on the ground. So we're here to support them and just be honored to be part of this business. We've already seen over just the first couple months of investment that they've been able to cut turn times down 40%. They've been able to produce a massive amount of cash, pay for things that help employees, pay for programs that employees like to make their jobs easier, their lives better, inspire them, and make them make them able to be better people. So part of this is people want to be challenged and they want to grow. And we're able to help the people at our businesses. And by the way, me, Edward, I get to grow through this process as well. So this continuous improvement, if you're not bought in, go find another job. If you're bought in, it's a great place to just little by little get better at what we do. And even if you start real low in life like me, you started from the bottom, now we're here. You can really grow into something great. So ordinary people can do extraordinary things, and that's part of the beauty and amazing part of my job every day is to work with guys like this.
And we don't hold
Excellent.
it against him because he was at Goldman Sachs and then he threw out an oxymoron of naval intelligence.
Yeah.
I just,
Slightly
but we
smarter than
still
Marine
love him.
intelligence. Yeah, we use pens and Marines use crayons, and so we just feel like we're super smart. Yeah.
Hey, hold on, hold on, hold on.
Sorry, Nick's son is a Marine.
Oh, they've covered my backdrop. I have a son of my Marine. My son's a Marine, and he's in
Yeah.
Intel as well. So
Well,
That
they
just
say
means
we say Navy says my ass rides on Marine equipment, Marine, and Marines say we're a department of the Navy, the men's department, so we go back and forth a lot with the Marines.
yep.
Well, that's great. Edward, thanks for jumping on here with us. I don't want to stop the conversation, but I would like to steer us towards the Q&A portion of this. If you haven't already put your questions in, if you have a question, please drop it in the chat real quick. Kyle, I will put you in charge of the chat box if we have any questions in there. If we do not, then we will kind of put a bow on this thing.
I don't see any questions in there. Do you? Hey, all Marines never use crayons. No, they eat the crayons. That's a different. There's totally different. So,
Kyle,
well,
anything? I can't.
That was the only question. Older Marines never used crowns.
Oh,
yeah,
I love that. I love
yeah,
that. Well,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Hey, well, we appreciate you all joining us today and working through this with us. It's exciting to see how your culture can change, how your company can improve when you put the right steps in place, empower the right people, make sure you've got the right people in the right positions driving in the right direction. At the end of the day, we're really just trying to really just drive the mission home so that we can, in fact, help build that bigger backbone for the aviation world, better backbone, more strong, more structured, I guess would be a better term for that. So we appreciate you all joining us and have a fantastic day.